All right, guys, how we doing? Back at it again. We're at day 3 here, factoring by grouping. Now, I'm sure grouping is a method that the name sounds familiar from Algebra 1, but maybe you don't remember the steps, and that's perfectly fine. That's what I'm going to show you today is the steps to grouping. All right, so instead of just jumping right into a problem and say factoring it by grouping, I just want to show you where grouping comes from and what are the steps. All right, before we do one whole one on our own here. So you see part A, I have x times 2x plus 1 plus 7 times 2x plus 1. I do not want you to I don't want you to distribute this at all. Okay, we're going to use grouping. So what grouping is basically, it's kind of a fancy GCF. Take out a GCF because look, I have two terms here. I have this one right here, and I have 7 times 2x plus 1. I have two terms there. Do you notice anything in common in both? I hope you do. Hopefully you see a 2x plus 1 in common. So that's what I'm going to take out as my GCF here is a 2x plus 1. And then whatever's left over, I'm going to put in my second parenthesis. So if I take a 2x plus 1 from this purple term, I'm going to be left with an x. And then if I take a 2x plus 1 from this blue shaded term, I'm going to end up with a positive 7. So I'm just taking out a GCF, which was 2x plus 1. And in the second parenthesis, I'm writing what's left over after I take out that 2x plus 1. Okay, so we go to the next one. I'm just going to keep highlighting these so we get the picture here. Here's the first term. Here's the second term. What do they both have in common? X minus 2. So I'm going to take out that GCF of x minus 2. What's left over? 5x from the green one and minus 2 from the red one. Okay, so let's keep doing this. First term, second term. Ready? What's in common? I see an x minus 7 in common. All right, ready? Now take our time here. What was left over from the first yellow term? That was x plus 5. Don't close it. I'm putting everything that's left over inside one parenthesis. So now from the pink term, you take out the x minus 7, what's left? Positive x plus 1. Combine your like terms, please. Clean that second parenthesis up. 2x plus 6. So this is what that one ends up being when I factor. All right, just one thing to watch out for. Here we go. I got this blue shaded term and this purple shaded term. Here we go. What's in common in both? X plus 4. So I'll take that out. What's next? Okay, here we go. From the blue term, I'm left with an x plus 4. I take it out. I'm left with 2x plus 8. Now here's where we got to pay attention. When you take out the x plus 4 from this purple term, take a look. You are not only left with x minus 2, you are left with that negative as well. Look, guys, look. Take a look. Okay, I'm left with that negative sign. Not only am I left with the x minus 2, I'm left with the negative sign as well. So I need to distribute, apply that negative sign to x minus 2. So it's going to be minus x plus 2. All right, so hopefully you see where that plus 2 came in. So you have x plus 4, x plus 10 after I combine like terms. Okay, so watch out for that when you are subtracting. Okay, watch out for that. All right, so now that we've had a little practice in that, let's do a full grouping problem. Okay, because how do I get to the point where A, B, and C, and D started? How do I get to that point? All right, so here we go. First thing I always look for is a GCF. No GCF here. And you'll notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. When there's no GCF in 4 terms, that automatically equals grouping to me. Okay, so what we need to do first is actually group these together. So I always say at the beginning, group the first 2, group the last 2 pairings together and see what you got. Okay, here you go. Take out a GCF. What can you take out of the purple term there? What can you take out of the purple terms? You can take an x to the third out. Take a GCF. What's left? x squared plus 4. Okay, keep going. What can I take out of the green grouping? I can take out a 2. And what's left after I take out a 2 from the green grouping? X squared plus 4. And now look, we're at the point we were above in parts A, B, C, and D. All right? What can you take out? What's in common in both? X squared plus 4. All right, what's left over goes in the other parenthesis, which is an x cubed and a positive 2. Okay, some of you may think you can go a little further with x squared plus 4, difference of two perfect squares. Nope, remember, hey guys, it's got to be subtraction between them. Okay, good thought though, but it's got to be subtraction. All right, here we go. One doesn't make you great. Next up, always try to group the first two and the last two. If it comes out to be the way we need, great. If not, we got to go back to the drawing board, and we can always rearrange the terms before we start. Okay, we can always rearrange them. So here we go. Out of the first grouping, let's take out a 9x. And if I take out a 9x, what am I left with? 2x plus 9x squared. I can take out one job. 9x squared. So I'm left with 2x plus 1. Now remember, when you're doing the grouping method, you want to have what's inside the parentheses to be the same. Because remember, if it's not the same, I can't take any GCF out again. So when I do this again over here, I want to make sure in my parentheses, I take out something, so I'm left with 2x plus 1. All right. So what can I take out that'll be left with 2x plus 1? Well, if you notice inside the second pair of grouping I have here, it's the opposite of what I need. So if that's the case, if I need the opposite, I'm going to take out a negative 1. And when I take out a negative 1, you're left with 2x plus 1. And if you're unsure, guys, if you did that correct, go ahead. Redistribute and say, okay, I'm going to get a negative 2x, yep, and a negative 1. Good, that's what I started with. All right, so here we go. What's common in both sides? What's common? 2x plus 1. I'll take that out as my GCF. And then in the second parenthesis, what's left over? 9x squared minus 1. Now here's where it's going to get a little tricky. Sometimes you can keep going. Remember all the methods we learned in day 2. Look familiar? Difference of two perfect squares. 2x plus 1. And then this turns into 3x plus 1, 3x minus 1. And there it is for that one. Okay? All right, how about part C? Actually, you know what? Why don't you guys try part C for me? Okay, try part C, group the first two, the last two, take GCFs out, and see if we come up with the same response. Okay, take a quick look. I don't know if you guys fell in the same trap I did. I tell you guys every single time, look for a what? A GCF, right? Look for a GCF, and there was a GCF. You could have taken a 5 out to begin with there. And if you didn't see it, that's okay. And I didn't see it, so I just kept going. All right, but this one right here is not my final answer. This cannot be my final answer right here because there's still a GCF in the second parenthesis. So if you miss the GCF, it's okay. You just got to notice at the end, there's still one to take out. So I have x plus 2, and then I could take out a 5 and be left with x squared plus 4, and then rewriting this correctly, here you go. Put the 5 out in front. Okay? So even if you forget to take out a GCF first, it's okay. It's not a big deal. You just got to look at your answer at the end and say something doesn't look right. There's still a GCF inside the parenthesis. Okay? We still get to the final answer whether you took it out first or last. Okay? All right. Number 3. Consider this one right here. How can you rewrite it? Because how can you rewrite this expression so the first two terms share a common factor other than 1? Here's why I'm asking that. Because if you guys try to group these first two and I say, okay, what are you going to take out? You're going to be like, oh, I can't take out anything. And you're right, you can't. So this is what I was talking about before is if you group the first two and the last two and are having issues, you may need to reorder them. Okay? So I say to myself, all right, x squared. what else could I pair with it so I could take out a GCF? Well, looks like I can pair AX with it. I guess you could also pair negative BX with it. Try it out. And then I'll take AB and I'll pair that with negative BX and see where this leads me. Maybe I need to go back and reorder it again if it doesn't work for me. So let's do first two, last two. Okay, so this first one right here, I'm going to take out an X and be left with X minus A. Hopefully I can be left with an X minus A over here. I got to take out, let's see, what do they have in common in the second pairing? A B. So let's take out a B and I'm going to be left with, not going to work, right? I'm going to be left with A minus X, but I need the opposite of that, right? Okay, so what did we talk about? If you need the opposite, let's go back. And instead of just taking out a positive B, take out a negative B. Okay, so now if I take out a negative B, I'm going to be left with negative A plus X. And you're probably still saying, Mr. Carlino, that still is not the same inside those parentheses. Yes, it is. What are the signs on the A's? Negative. And what are the signs on the X's? Positive. Those two are the same exact things inside the parenthesis. All right, so I'll have X minus A in common. And then what's left? X minus B. Okay. So again, a little crazy there. You need to first reorder them. And if you're not getting what's inside, you're getting the opposite. Try to take out the negative version instead. Okay, so this ends up part B, X minus A, X minus B. All right, here we go. Last one here, number 4. Somebody made an error factoring this. Let's see if we can figure out the error. Okay, so it looks like they grouped the first two and the last two, right? First two, last two. They took out a 2x squared. That looks good. They took out a 7, so this first step is good. Okay, next step. Next step. There's the problem. What happened? There's no GCF here. What's inside is not the same. Everyone see that? All right. How can you tell that this factoring is incorrect? There is no GCF to take out. And that's what I've been trying to tell you guys all notes here is that, hey, you got to have it to do the grouping method. You need a GCF on both sides to take out. Okay. Going back again, look at part number 2A. We had X squared plus 4 we could take out. Part B, we had 2X plus 1 we could take out. Part C, we had X plus 2 we could take out. All right. You got to have the same on both sides to be able to do grouping method. All right. All right. I hope you guys picked up on some of this. The homework reflects the notes very, very carefully. So make sure you just take your time on that. Okay. The notes and the homework are almost duplicates of each other. So take a look and go back and look at your notes if you need to. Thanks, guys. One more video left, by